What's up, guys? Welcome back, man. Jackpot DFS. Got the video cam up and running this week. Back in rhythm of things, man. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Hope you guys made some money. Obviously, we've had a week to see kind of what teams are going to do, kind of how they're going to run this year. Sample size, so to speak. Kind of how they're going to play, kind of what those teams are looking to do, kind of snap shares, etc. Of what we were looking to see. Um, however, got some better matchups this week. I think now that we've seen some sample size, we kind of know a little bit more what we're going to like this season, at least from that sample size, so to speak. So, moving on, let's take a look and see what we got going on for week 2 coming up with our DFS here on Draftkings. Going to start off looking at the quarterbacks that I like for the week here on the first look. And I haven't really looked at the slate myself. I've glanced at it a couple times, but haven't really taken a good look at it here. So we're going to do it together this week and kind of look and see what we like for the week. Jumping off the board first, I know Kyler Murray's obviously always in play. I think this will be a good game to target this week with Minnesota and Arizona. I don't think either one of them are necessarily great defensive teams, middle of the pack, but obviously with Kyler Murray, he's always in play. Hefty price to pay for him this week. As always, I'm always looking down at the cheapest I can get at quarterback, but obviously when you get the running on the ground and passing through the air, with a QB, it's kind of like it's kind of like 2-in-1. It's kind of like getting a running back and a quarterback together. So I never mind paying for a guy like that, especially with Kyler Murray and how good he can be. And he set it off this weekend, obviously, in a good target game for DeAndre Hopkins as well. So don't mind going with that option if you want to pay up for QB this week. Moving down the list, I don't mind Russell Wilson as well. Obviously, he's going to be typical Russell Wilson. He doesn't use his legs as much as he used to. However, he is still pretty damn good through the air. He saw Lockett go off this weekend. I anticipate Lockett to continue to get snaps and shares of the catches there, but not a big game for Metcalf. But I assume he will be in play going down the stretch. I don't see him coming down that low without being a big part of their offense moving forward. So still like him as part of that Seattle offense. Josh Allen, he did pretty good last week. He's always in play, obviously. He's still got a tough matchup this week against Miami. Not a pivotal play for me this week. However, he is always in play because he does give you that ground game as well as passing through the air this week. But not a favorite of mine this week, but don't mind him if you want to go that route this week. Moving down, looking at some other guys, starting to get into the mix of guys I really like this week. Couple guys to jump off the board for me is Baker Mayfield. He's going against a terrible Houston defense this week. I expect Baker to have a great game this weekend coming up. And not that he had a bad game. I thought he played really, really well against the Chiefs, and they really could have won that game. Kind of took their foot off the pedal and kind of let that game get back in the hands of Patrick Mahomes. And you could see him going for it fourth down a whole lot. So with that being seen, you obviously can see this year they're not going to settle for less. They really want to make the playoffs and make an impression. So I really like Baker Mayfield this week. To target, as well as probably somebody to go with him like a Landry, somebody like that. And when we get to receivers, we'll take a look at that and see what we're looking at. But moving down the list here, obviously, kind of getting away from Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't really like him as much this week. Matt Ryan either. Tua, not really my favorite. If you're looking for somebody cheap, starting to get down to these cheaper guys. I don't mind really paying down this week. It's either kind of paying up for Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. If you want to go Brady, I don't see a problem with that. Maybe even taking a stab at Justin Herbert's probably a good play this week. He's going against a terrible Dallas defense. I don't mind that play. Nice bounce back week for him. Jalen Hurts, I'm going to stay away from. Matt Stafford, I don't really mind that. I don't see him passing, maybe not as passing as many yards as he did this past week or being as easy, but I don't really mind that play this week. But I also I like Mac Jones. Like that for a cheap play. I think really paying down at quarterback this week is the way to go. Allows you to get those three-headed monsters at running back with your two running back spots in the flex. Um, but Teddy Bridgewater could light it up again this weekend. Mac Jones, don't mind hitting against that New York Jets defense. Even Tyrod Taylor. Cleveland's defense is good up front and all that, but I don't think that they're. If he can, he's really good mobile wise too. I think he can get away from that, make some splash plays. He played really good this weekend as far as the offense concerned. So I don't see a problem if you want to pay down for him. You do get that. Um, kind of a cheaper mobile quarterback with him. And I've always been a fan of his. I think he can be a good play. Um, and looking at other guys I like this week, not a big fan of Andy Dalton, but he should have still could have a good game this week. I'm not. I think he played okay against against the Rams this past weekend. I mean, I don't see him doing great big things, but he's not my favorite player in the world. But if you want to take a stab with him, I don't see a problem with that. I still like Sam Darnold. I know he's going against that tough New Orleans defense, but I still like him for a play, and still don't mind him. I don't think there's anybody else down here that I really like this week, but probably I'd say top five for me. Kyler Murray 1, Russell 2. Let's go with Herbert 3. I want to say Baker Mayfield, probably 3 or 4 for me, and then probably Tyrod, kind of a tie for Tyrod and Zach Wilson or Zach Wilson for me this week. As far as QB is concerned, as an early look. Moving over to our running backs, obviously Christian McCaffrey. I don't care what defense is going to get. If he's going to catch 9 passes a week, or anywhere between that 5 to 10 range, I think you just pay up for him. He's still not as expensive as he should be yet. I anticipate he'll be over the 10K mark probably even next week as early as that. But I just think you just pay up for him and just play him. Obviously he's going to be a big part of that offense until, anything else happens. I know that they drafted Herbert and they even picked up Royce Freeman to kind of take the load off him a little bit. But obviously from this weekend, you could see he's still out there all the time, and I don't anticipate that changing. He's such a part of that offense. It's like they absolutely need him on the field to have success, and he's going to be a part of that, especially if Carolina's winning and being competitive in games. He's guaranteed he's going to be a part of that every single time. So I think you just lock in McCaffrey and build around it this week as any other week. New England, sorry. Defense doesn't really scare me. I don't know what happened with Rodgers. Maybe all the drama in the offseason kind of threw him off or something first game back. Or maybe it's just that long hair and that man bun he's got going on. Could be throwing him off a game. Shave that off, grow the beard back, and maybe he'll be back on his game. But I anticipate Carolina being competitive in that game this week. Their defense looked damn good this weekend. So moving on from that, Cap McCaffrey, obviously number 1, easy choice. Lock him in this week. Moving down the list here, Dalvin Cook and Camaro. I don't think Camara's not going to have as good a game as he did this past weekend. I'm going to fade Camaro this week. And Dalvin Cook, obviously, he's a big part of the offense as well. Don't know if I like him as much either. I'd probably lock in McCaffrey and probably pay down a little bit after that. Outside of week 1, I did not like Derrick Henry, but this coming up week, I do like Derrick Henry. I think he has a better game this coming up week against a bad Seattle run defense. Seattle's never really been a big team on run defense. Their passing defense was great for years, but the way you had to beat Seattle has always been running the football, and I think they get that done here with Henry this week. I like him as for 2 this week if you want to pay up for him. Nick Chubb had a great weekend. He is splitting carries with Hunt. I expected like a 50-50 push with them too, but obviously I think Chubb was on the field a little bit more, or Hunt just wasn't doing much. I didn't catch all that game. I seen some of it, not all of it, but Chubb was obviously running great, and he's got a great matchup on paper this week for defense. Nick Chubb, go ahead and lock that in this week for number 3 for me. Next up is Austin Eckler. Same kind of back. Going to catch out of the backfield, going to run the ball, going to be a big part of that offense. They got Dallas defense this week. Love that matchup. I think Eckler is a great choice for number 4 back this week for me this week. I spent a little bit more time on running back for the first look because there's so damn many good plays this week. Looking down the list here, I think for me, it's going to be a fade on Taylor this week. Looking down the list here, with all the shit going on with San Francisco with the 49ers, they just seem to keep having people get hurt. I like Miles Sanders for a play. Not so much Robinson. Najee Harris, even though he's out there, he's going to be a workhorse back. Not in love with that play. I could see playing Mixon. Chicago's D isn't what it used to be. I feel kind of bad for Mac because he spent a lot of those years with their shitty quarterback play that he's wasting away on years, but he's getting paid good, so that's what matters most. As always, fade Zeke. I'm not even going there this season, and until I see something from Zeke, I'm just going to be a fade for me every single week. I think Montgomery's a great play this week against Cincinnati's D. I think they've taken a step forward, getting a little bit better, but I love Montgomery. He's really a great back, and he's really a big part of that Chicago offense. I don't know if they didn't have Montgomery. Until you see Fields take the field 100% for Chicago, I think Montgomery is the key to the offense success for them. Moving down, Josh Jacobs obviously looked really bad yesterday or last night. He looked really hurt. That toe is giving him hell. I don't know that he'll be even. I don't see him being 100% before Sunday gets here. So I'm just going to fade him this week as well. Gordon is sharing a lot of work there in Denver. He had a great game this weekend, but I don't mind that play at 5,900 this week as well. Looking down the list here, it's hard to call that Tampa. It's like I don't really want to touch the Tampa backs because they mess up one time and they're benched. Obviously, we've seen that with Jones in the first game, so that scares me away from even touching them at all. Obviously, the guy that's going to be a cheap, probably chalky play this week, especially going against Philadelphia's D, is going to be Mitchell for the running back for 49ers with Mostert going down on IR for at least 8 weeks. Most likely you're going to see Mitchell probably get the start. You see probably one of those guys, probably Trey Sermon, probably is going to get called back up. He was not even activated for the first game, but with this Mostert news, I anticipate that he's going to be playing from here on out, and not quite sure how that's going to work out with them or how they anticipate playing Mitchell, but Mitchell looked really good in place of Mostert this past weekend, so I assume he gets a start. Great play at $5,000 this week against Philadelphia. Top 5 easy choice to me if you want to save some salary at running back. Looking down if there's anybody else cheap. Maybe with that news of the way Jacobs looked yesterday, maybe you can take a stab at Drake, but he is going against Pittsburgh's defense, so I'm really not looking forward to touching that one this week. I mean, Jones is really, really cheap. He's going to break out and have a big game at some point this season, and he is going up against Atlanta's defense this week, so if you want to take a stab in GPPs with Ronald Jones, I don't see an issue with that this week. Hines is nice to catch him back. He could be a pivotal cheap play if you wanted to try that route this week. I mean, they are going against the Rams, so for catching back, I mean, he can get a point per reception on Draftkings, so I don't necessarily mind that. But looking down, I don't see a lot to love. Maybe Carlos Hyde, but he's going against Denver's defense. Don't love that. I really thought Boston Scott would get some more work with Philadelphia, but he didn't really get any, so not really touching that. And I kind of hate that because I drafted him on one of my best ball lines, and you got a big fat 0. Hasty, maybe another back you can look to at 4,200 this week. kind of pay attention to the Tampa Bay stuff. I mean, Tampa Bay, if it's always kind of wild with Gio Bernard. I mean, if Jones keeps messing up and Fournette ain't producing, then they're going to get the next guy up. Gio could be a play in the future, but not now this week. But Michael Carter seems to be the guy they really want to get the rock to there with the Jets. He's at 4,100, but risky play this week. I kind of think you just stick with the main guys and really like Mitchell for the 49ers. He's probably the cheap play I like this week. You could take a stab with Ingram. He did score a touchdown against Cleveland's D. But as far as cheap backs I like this week, it's probably Mitchell, Ingram, and probably Harris for New England going against that Jets defense. Other than that, not a whole lot to like for me. I think everybody else I'm just kind of stay away from cheap wise, and then I'll pay up for McCaffrey, Henry, Chubb, Eckler, guys of that nature, Miles Sanders, etc. Moving on to wide receivers that I like from first glance this week. Obviously, I think DeAndre Hopkins is obviously is 8,000, but I think he's obviously going to be a pivotal part. He's already a pivotal part of that offense, but obviously going to get started early this season. Like him again this week against Minnesota's defense. They're not scaring anybody. Also, I could see. I know Metcalf is expensive again this week. Like he blew up last week, but obviously, I know he did something, but he didn't blow out and go out there and score a ton like Lockett did. But I like him this week against Tennessee's defense. Could have big play potential. 2 to 3 touchdowns could happen easily. So I don't mind that play. I think that's a GPP play, not a cash play this week. Because obviously if Lockett gets the touchdowns to him, that's obviously a riskier play with a couple more wideouts that could take those from him. So a guy I'd look more to for more of a cash play and such is probably Ridley, especially with Jones going and all that. I know he didn't do a ton this past weekend, but I expect that to be a little bit different, and I'm not. I know that Atlanta's probably going to be playing catch up in that game, so they're probably going to be throwing the ball a lot. So I don't mind taking Ridley this week in a game this coming up weekend. Looking on, I'm not scared of that Arizona defense just yet. They are good and decent, but they're not scary enough to think that I don't think that Jefferson and Thielen can't get touchdowns or catches. But in the middle of those two guys is Lockett. So I really like Lockett again this week. Think you can go back to the well with that. So starting off, obviously, for the top guys here, I think it's Hopkins easy, Ridley, and Lockett probably. I'll say fade Metcalf until I see him produce more GPP play for me this week. Moving down the list, we've seen Deebo Samuel have a great game. He's going against that Philadelphia defense. I think he's a great play this week at 6,700. Obviously, Godwin, they're going. You got the Bucks receivers going up against Atlanta's poor defense. So Godwin, Mike Evans, all them guys. Mike Evans looked really out of sort the first game. I couldn't tell if he had a hamstring going on or what. He looked hurt half the time. Really, Godwin and Brown stepped up for them. So pay attention to that this week. Make sure Evans has not got some issues going on, but I think Godwin and Brown are easy go back twos this week for that this weekend. Looking down the list here, don't mind Johnson for Pittsburgh going against the Raiders defense. They look great up front. I think if it was a better passer, looking at the game last night, I think if it was a better passer, I think they probably could have done more damage as far as throwing through the air, but we know how Jackson is. He likes to run the ball. They're a running team. He's not really a big passer. So obviously we've seen a big play from, out of all people, Sammy Watkins last night. So I think they're susceptible to big plays and stuff like that moving forward as they face tougher, stouter, better offenses. Don't know whether or not we'll see Odell Beckham play this weekend. I know he was warming up this past week. I think he could play this weekend. He was warming up, and after warm-ups, they decided he wasn't going to play. But obviously, Landry's going to be a big part of that offense. I love that against that Houston D this weekend. He can match up with Baker. Cooper Kupp, love that play. I think he's going to be a pivotal part of that offense. Obviously, he already was, but when you change quarterbacks, you never know who they're going to be. Sometimes that changes with who they look to throw to more. Cooper Kupp's obviously going to be that guy. So like him again this week, and he's not that expensive. Antonio Brown, love that play. Also don't mind a play with Cooks. He had a good game this weekend. Over 100 yards against Cleveland's defense. I don't see any issue with that. There's some other guys here. Corey Davis, maybe. They're probably going to have to throw the ball a little bit. He was obviously the go-to guy for the Jets this weekend. Myers against that poor Jets D. He's obviously getting more play. Like Chase, 5,000. He was obviously the go-to guy for Joe Burrow. Obviously, college connection, automatically in the pros. Didn't anticipate him having such a strong start, but it's nice to see. Moving in the list here, I don't like receivers for Jags this week or Lawrence this weekend. Looking down the list here for some cheap guys. Cole Beasley, like I told you guys last week, he's going to be that guy who comes out there, plays the slot. He's going to take big hits, play the slot. He makes big time catches in tight spots. He's going to go for 6 to 10 catches a game, close to 100 yards, and probably maybe a touchdown here or there. So always a nice guy, and he's always cheap for some reason. Tim Patrick obviously caught a touchdown pass this weekend, so don't mind that. Looking down the list here, so a few other guys. Don't mind Muni. He was a big part of that offense this past weekend. Callaway, don't really like. I think Carolina's defense really surprised this past weekend. Callaway obviously didn't get the catches and things like we thought he would. Burn a lot of people this weekend. I'd stay away from him this week, but this looks like some cheap guys that we may like this week. Van Jefferson had a great game. I think he's really cheap this week. Let's see what he is. One guy that's almost bare minimum here is KJ Osborne for Minnesota. He caught like 7 passes for 76 yards this weekend. I think if you want to pay down a receiver, he's a great option this week, 3,300. Terrence Marshall's a great play at 3,300, I think. Obviously, Shorts, if OBJ misses again, he's 3,300. He caught a lot of passes this weekend. So some guys that you can kind of get cheap with this week. Pay attention to the injury news and things like that to see what you think. But obviously, those guys can be in play barring injury news. I think Van Jefferson, he had a big touchdown at the beginning of that game, broken coverage, fell down, got back up and ran into the end zone. Caught a couple more passes for that game in Chicago Rams game, but he's only 3,500. I think that's still a great play this week at 3,500. If he continues to have success, obviously he's going to be more part of that offense. Elijah Moore, I still think can be a good play. But moving down the lane, I think that's all that I really like for value this week. I think as we seen last week, you kind of get an idea of what we were going to see as far as what guys were doing, and then that gives you an idea of what to kind of target this week. I think you target the guys you know that's going to get some targets. Kind of shy away from those guys you hadn't seen do anything yet, and that'll put you in a better situation this week. But moving on to tight ends that I like for the week. Let's take a look. Obviously, Waterman, he got like 19 targets yesterday. I think he's a no-brainer. If you want to pay up for him, I don't see a problem. I don't care if it's Pittsburgh's defense. If he's going to get targeted 19 times, pay up for him, dude. I don't see an issue with that. George Kittle going against Philadelphia's defense, don't mind that play. Kyle Pitts not explosive like we thought he was, and he's going against a tougher defensive matchup this week. I'd stay away from him. Don't mind Gronkowski. Obviously, he's Gronkowski. He's going against terrible Atlanta defense. Like that save of 4,700. I think that's a great play this week. Goddard's obviously another great play going against San Francisco, but that defense isn't scaring me just yet. Mike Gesicki did not have a great game. He didn't have a catch at all this past weekend, but I think that changes probably this week. Tua loves to pass to Gesicki, so I don't anticipate him staying at 0 very long. Jared Cook, Hooper. There's some plays, definitely some other plays you can go to this week. I would pay down it outside of Waller. I would pay down this week. It's just not a position I love to pay for unless I'm paying for a guy I know that's going to get the targets like Waller. Gronkowski's only 4,700. I think it's Waller, Gronkowski, Goddard. You can obviously go with Juju Smith. I think is a nice play against the Jets defense. Noah Fant against that poor ass Jacksonville defense is probably 4 for me. And then looking down the list here to see if there's some cheap guys that you can kind of get really, really cheap with. I think Jarwin's might be a great play for cheap at 3,100. Or even Schultz at 3,300. I know it's Chargers D, but they're not scaring me just yet either. Looking down the list here to see if there's some cheaper guys you can go with. OJ Howard. Didn't see a ton of stuff happen for him the first game, but Tom Brady has said that he anticipates him having a great year this year, so I anticipate him getting some more targets. Just hadn't gotten it yet. Brown for Houston against Cleveland's defense, 2,900. Even Griffin got a couple passes, nothing crazy. Hennessy or whatever his name is. I can't pronounce his damn name. It makes me think of that that King Kel thing where he's doing the classroom thing, and the principal's name is old Shaq Hennessy. So I always say that shit because it always makes me think of that. But anyway, looking down the list here, I don't see anybody else you can really go with. I think you just that's kind of where you drop the hat at. But obviously, top 5 for them is Waller, number 1, Gronkowski 2, Goddard. Probably Fant for me at 4. And for a cheaper guy, I think Schultz is probably my 5th guy, this week. So let's look at defenses. Obviously, defenses this week. I think Broncos is probably the one of the spend up plays. Obviously, they didn't look good on offense, and I don't anticipate that changing in a week's time, especially against a better defense this week. Like that defense, like New England's defense this week. Moving in a list. See who I may like next. I mean, Cincinnati, you could kind of take a stab with. Andy Dalton could throw a pick, could fumble the ball, getting sacked. He has butterfingers. He's old now. He's just not the QB he once was. So I could see you taking a shot with that, and then the other side, I could see you taking a shot with the Bears. So I mean, it's kind of if I think the pay up options there for the Broncos. Panthers are 6 sacks this week. Number 1 in the league for a lot of categories this week. Sacks, pass breakups, quarterback pressures, all those sorts of things. So he had number 1 in a ton of. I can't remember them all, but 2,700 I think is a great play this week. Obviously, I'm a Panthers fan. I'm a little bit biased, but I think that is a great play for what they showed out and showed. I know it was against the Jets and a rookie QB, but I think that was they're trying to step that defense up, and those guys are being competitive even with each other within the team. I like what I've seen so far. So paying up for them. I don't mind paying 2,200 for the Jets D. I mean, they are going. It is 2 rookie quarterbacks. Matt can make mistakes. I don't mind that. The Jets defense did not look awful. So I think that could be a very low scoring game, and don't mind the Jets defense this week. If you want to pay down, that's probably the bottom of the barrel though for me this week. I think the Jets is probably the cheapest I want to go. So I'd say probably Broncos 1. Let's say Patriots 2. I'd say Panthers 4. Maybe Bears kind of 4-ish. And I'd say probably the Jets are probably tied for 4-ish at 2,200 because that's a nice save that'll allow you to spend up other places. But that's it for the video, guys. I know this one's a little bit longer. I want to spend a little bit more time getting in more depth. Sometimes life gets busy and I'm not able to get videos out exactly when I want to get them out. So that at least helps you through the week to give you something to run off of. I'm going to get a video out for the showdown slate tomorrow morning. So pay attention, look out for that video, and I'll get some more. I'll try to get a final look video out probably Friday, and also get a showdown slate video out Saturday for that Sunday night game as well. So anyway, guys, questions, comments, anything, man, Twitter's always open. You guys can hit me up on Twitter at JackpotDFS, as well as a comment section here on YouTube. Hope you guys are having a great start to your week, and we'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.